Hey folks, today I'd like to review a movie that I've caught on MeTV a couple of times over the past year. Each time I tell myself that I'm not going to watch it, and each time I get sucked in. The movie I'm talking about is Don Knott's 1968 film, The Shakiest Gun in the West, directed by Alan Rafkin and co-starring the lovely Barbara Rhoades. This movie is set in 1870, where bumbling Philadelphia-based dentist Jesse W. Haywood, played by Knott, travels west to set up a practice in the frontier. There he meets Penelope Cushings, a pretty bandit who has agreed to investigate an Indian gun smuggling operation in exchange for her freedom. Now, if all this sounds somewhat familiar, it should. The movie is a remake of a successful Bob Hope comedy from a couple decades earlier called Paleface. Let me go on record as saying that the only person that I think is almost as funny as Don Knott is Bob Hope. As a kid, I ate up the road movies that he made with Bing Crosby and Dorothy Lamour, and I really did enjoy the Paleface. It's vintage Hope. Lots of cowardly wisecracking with a dash of bravery thrown in so that the hero can actually seem somewhat heroic towards the end of the movie, and of course a pretty lady. What Bob Hope movie didn't have a pretty lady in it? In the Paleface, Jane Russell plays well-known gunslinger Calamity Jane, who, much like the same character in Shakiest Gun, is trying to turn over a new leaf. So for whatever reason, as already mentioned, Rhoades' character in The Shakiest Gun in the West isn't Calamity Jane. Her name is Penny Cushings. Bad Penny Cushings, to be exact. But the character and her motivation in the story is essentially the same. After her government partner, who is posing as her husband, is murdered, Penny tricks Jesse, who she just calls Dentist throughout most of the film, into a quick marriage so that she can join a wagon train with the suspected gun runners who are supplying both ammunition and alcohol to the Indians. And of course, even though they barely know each other, Jesse falls head over heels for Penny. And although Penny has become fond of Jesse, she eventually ditches him to go it alone. As with many of the Don Knott's vehicles, during the last third, his character must summon up courage to save Penny, who, after leaving, is captured by the Indians. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I'm sure you can guess the outcome, but getting there isn't just half the fun, it's all of the fun. This is a great movie that stands out as a perfect vehicle for Don Knott. In this film, we are watching a comedian and a movie star who is at the top of his game. Sure, the script is silly, and yes, there are some really dumb moments in this movie as well. The whole wedding night gag just doesn't work for me. But all in all, it's a solid movie. Much like the Andy Griffith Show, you just get the feeling that it was made by people who really knew what they were doing, and what they were doing was not creating some sort of masterpiece. They were making a movie that could be fun for the whole family and consumed, if needed, in bite-sized portions. And that really is the way that I like to watch a lot of Don Knott's movies. I don't usually just watch them in one sitting. Usually it takes 2 or 3 nights. I'll watch it for a half hour or so. You get 2 or 3 great set pieces. You get Don Knott acting like Don Knott. And you know what? For me, I'm good. I'm ready to hit the pause button and return to it on another evening. I will say that the scene where Knott purchases supplies from a sneaky merchant is just a bit off-putting because of the way that the Asian character is portrayed in the scene. The actor, by the way, is the wonderful Pat Morita. Besides all of the stereotypical mannerisms that you might expect to be played up for comedic effect, there are a couple of occasions in this scene where Morita's character drops to his knees and starts kissing Don's feet. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I guess it was work for Morita, who would later on go on to play some really positive Asian characters in Arnold on Happy Days, as well as Mr. Miyagi in the original Karate Kid series. But I don't know, it just... I guess it's from another era, is all I can say. And as long as I'm quibbling, it should also be mentioned that the Indians in this film are stereotypical caricatures as well. After Shakiest Gun in the West, Barbara Rhoades enjoyed a lengthy career in both television and film, although I would say more TV than film. In fact, she was a staple on primetime TV in the 70s and 80s. I remember her in Love Boat. It seems like almost everybody was on Love Boat at one point or another. That show really made me want to go on a cruise. Later on, when I finally went, I discovered that, like almost everything else on TV, Reality is just a little bit different. Most recently, Ms. Rhoades was working on daytime television on the soap opera One Life to Live, as well as Gene Rayburn's Match Game TV show. So that's it. All in all, if you're a Don Knotts fan and you haven't seen this film, you really should. It's an enjoyable movie that aspires to do nothing more than make you laugh. And these days it feels like laughter at times is in really short supply. Alright, if you've seen this movie and would like to weigh in, let me know what you think in the comments section. And while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And I would be honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.